Alright, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, we'd like to begin this lesson by giving all glory, all honor, and all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rechad Chodash, giving double honors, double unto the apostles and elders of great millstone who surely do well. To the men standing by the highways and byways pushing this doctrine, we like to say Shalom, Shalom. And even unto the sins, say Akwat, the sisters who sit us in these lessons in silence, subjection, and obedience unto their husbands, we like to say Shalom, Shalom. There are a couple of brothers here gathered together from the hills of Yahushai Camp, brother Hananiah and brother Maya Shala, right? And we are going to do is continue our but Day of the Lord series that we've been in, right? So far we've done 2 parts discussing 4 things each part about things we know about the Day of the Lord, right? And now we want to finish it, or rather, continue this series here, right? This could be the 3rd installment, things we know of the Day of the Lord, or know about the Day of the Lord, right? So if the brother, the precept there, Isaiah 34:8, good start.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 34 and verse 8.
Right.
For it is a day of Yahweh's vengeance, and a year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion.
Right? So what is something that we know about the Day of the Lord? It is the day of Yahweh's revenge on the nations, right? If you could give me it.
I'm reading in GNT.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's Isaiah 34 and verse 8 in GNT. This is a time when Yahweh will rescue Zion and take vengeance on her enemies.
Yeah, translation, because what? Nehemiah 5 and 9, right? The reproach of the heathen. Should we not walk in the fear of our power because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies, heathen being what? The rest of the other nations in the earth who are not Israelites by seed line, right? So what? This day, the day of the Lord, which is synonymous with a lot of things, is also synonymous of the day that Yahweh takes revenge on these nations, right? If you give me Isaiah 39.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 13 and verse 9.
Right.
Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it.
Right? So the day of the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate. He shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Why? Because we know, as pursuant to Matthew, if not Matthew 24, I believe Luke 21, when Yahweh makes mention of the Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. It have heathens dwelling in our land right now. A bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, right? So the day,
Luke 21.
Luke 21, you could go ahead and read it.
Luke 21 and verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations.
Right, speaking of the Israelites.
Jump up.
No, just go ahead.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of all the Gentiles.
Like the heathens, our enemies.
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
And that is part of the controversy of Zion, right? Because what? It's not just about what they did to the people of Zion, but also what they did to the land of Zion, Jerusalem, Israel, right? That hill country, right? So what the Lord has to pay these nations back for that, and the day He said to do it is what known as the day of the Lord, the day of Yahweh. In Jeremiah 46 and 10. For this is the day of Yahweh, power of hosts. For this is the day of the Lord Yahweh, power of hosts, a day of vengeance, that He may avenge him of his adversaries, and the sword shall devour, and it shall be satiated, and made drunk with their blood. For Yahweh, power of hosts, had a sacrifice in a north country by the river Euphrates. The Lord is coming to lay His vengeance on these heathen nations. If you could give me Romans 12 and verse 19.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 12 and verse 19.
So we understand the Lord finally going to get to put his hands on these people, right? Go ahead.
I read from verse 17.
Right.
Recompense to no man evil for evil,
Right.
provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as light in you, live peaceable with all men.
Right.
Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith Yahweh.
So,
Therefore, keep hearing?
Good.
Therefore, if thine enemies hunger, feed him. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head.
Right.
Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good.
Right, but it says, what vengeance is mine, says Yahweh, I will repay. And when is that payment coming? When is he going to recompense these men for all the atrocities that they have done unto the nation of Israel and unto the land of Israel? Well, it's the day of Yahweh. The day when them had to pay the dues coming, which is First Maccabees 2:10, what nation had not gotten off of spoil, right? And if I could just read that real quick.
Start from 8.
First Maccabees 2:8, a temple is become as a man without glory.
Start. Read from 7.
He said,
Start from 6. Read from 6.
First Maccabees 2:6, and when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me, wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, the heathens, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers, Gentiles, natural born Gentiles. Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the street. Her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation had not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? All these heathens round about us benefited from our. Keep reading. This one said benefited from our distress, right? From us falling, all these nations have benefited, right? All the ornaments are taken away of a free woman, she's become a bond slave, and behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it, right? So when are they going to pay for this, right? It's the day of Yahweh. They're going to pay for this. The Lord has fully put it in his mind and has fully set in his mind that he wants to pay these people back. Deuteronomy 32:41. If I whet my glittering sword and mine hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to mine enemies, and I will reward them that hate me. Think Psalms 2. Right? Who are the enemies of the Lord? Why do the heathen imagine a vain thing? Imagine a vain thing. You just say come together, right? And they have set themselves against the Lord and against his anointed. Right? So what the Lord is going to pay these people back. So what else do we know about the day of Yahweh?
So that precept that would be quick. It's Exodus 20 and
or the third, fourth generation of them that hate me.
Exodus 20 and verse 5. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh, thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
And what that includes the heathens as in the reincarnation. The Lord and all the wicked shit you've done in your past life, and you think you're gonna get away? You're mad? No, the Lord is coming for you, and you're gonna get your judgment in the day of the Lord if you ain't get before that. But we know at the day of the Lord that when all shit stop, and the Lord coming to render recompense. Right? So what else we know about the day of the Lord? It's a day full of fire. Right? If you could give me Deuteronomy 4 and 24.
In the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 24. For Yahweh thy power is a consuming fire, even a jealous power.
Right? So what? We understand that one of the characteristics of the Most High is that he loves fire. Right? He loves fire. And this day,
that's what when you read it biblically, fire, and you love fire and water. Why? Because basically fire and water are synonymous with
Cleansing agents.
synonymous with clean areas. You use fire and water to clean things up.
Right, and right now we know the earth is exceedingly polluted under the inhabitants
Thereof.
thereof.
Exactly.
And who are the polluters? The heathens. They're gonna have to be cleaned up. Go ahead.
Because anything right there, the Lord like to clean up the place with fire or water. When you go back to the law, it's saying anytime you have a polluted vessel, if it's of iron, you could burn it and it will become clean. If it's of clay, you wash it out with water. So what the Lord come in here using fire to clean up the place.
Right.
Okay.
Right, because what if you now say that the Lord is a consuming fire, well then the day of Yahweh is a day of fire. Right? If you give me Zephaniah 1:18.
Zephaniah 1:18. Are you from 16 or from 15?
15, yeah. You can do 15.
So are you from 14? Are you from 14? Zephaniah 1:14. The great day of Yahweh is near. It is near, and he said greatly. Even the voice of the day of Yahweh, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly.
Right?
The day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble. So like that day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet, an alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against Yahweh, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of Yahweh's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of all of them that dwell in the land.
Right, exactly. So what the Lord is bringing fire for these people. If it begin here, Joel 3 from 1. Sorry, Joel 2 from 1.
The book of Joel, chapter
And read till
2.
verse 3.
The book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and thick gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There had not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations.
This is speaking about the missiles, and after all these missiles are used, there are not going to be any weapons like that created in the earth evermore. Yahweh Shai made mention of it. Not Yahweh Shai, but it is made mention of in the scriptures. They shall learn war no more.
You also have the scripture in Ezekiel, it says you can gather up all of Esau things together and burn it.
Right.
Roughly paraphrasing. I think it's Ezekiel 37 or 36.
Right.
One of them. The fire devour it before them, and behind them a flame burn it. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them.
A fire devour it before them, and behind them a flame burn it. Right? And nothing shall escape them. The land is clean dissolved. Right? The Lord is going to sweep these places that He's going to visit with fire. Right? The day of Yahweh is a day of fire.
My spirit, I just press Ezekiel 36. Read verse 5.
Ezekiel 36?
5, yeah.
I read the book of Ezekiel chapter 36 verse 5. Therefore thus saith Yahweh power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, and with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. Right? So surely in the fire of my jealousy, we know the Lord loves fire, and He's bringing fire to deal with these heathens and to render their judgment, right? Because that's what's said in Isaiah 66, right? How is He going to render His rebuke on these nations? Isaiah 66 and verse 14. And when ye see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb, and the hand of Yahweh shall be known toward His servants, and His indignation, His righteous anger toward His enemies, the heathens, For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because we know it's Yahushai coming in the name of his Father, right? Will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. So what we know, the day of Yahweh is a day of fire. If you could give me 2 Peter 3:10, and I hear Zephaniah, so Zechariah 14:12. Let me just read this real quick. And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Right? Zechariah 14:12. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And how is that going to happen? It's going to happen because of the fire that the Lord is sending. Go ahead.
There is 2 Peter 3:10. But the day of Yahweh will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up.
Right.
Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of power, wherein the heavens shall be on fire, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat.
Again, looking and hastening unto the coming of the day of power, right? The heavens gonna be on fire. The heavens gonna be on fire, right? Being dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The day of Yahweh is a day of fire. But what else do we know about the day of the Lord? We know it's a day that is nigh at hand, especially coming into this truth. It's also more nigh at hand, right? The Romans 13:11. And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to wake out of thy sleep, for now is our salvation. Remember, the day when Yahushua is going to return is also known as the day of Yahweh, right? And that day is the day he's going to save his elect, right, and ultimately save the nation of Israel after he's finished judging the rest of the nation of Israel. The day of salvation for the nation of Israel is the day of the Lord. We went into that in an earlier part in this series, right? So what? Now it is high time to wake out to thy sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. So if our salvation is nearer than when we believe, is not the day that we're going to get saved nearer than when we first believe? Yes, it is. Because what? The day of the Lord is closer than we think. Right? The 1 Thessalonians 5, and if I could read from verse 1.
1 Thessalonians 5:1.
And you could read till 3.
But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you.
Right.
For yourselves know perfectly that the day of Yahweh so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape.
So peace and safety, but then sudden destruction cometh upon them. Because what? This is something we also know about the day of the Lord. It's not necessarily just one specific day. There's things that are going to happen specifically on that specific day. But even when you go into the word day in the Hebrew, it goes into the Hebrew word what? Yawam, which means what? It also could go into a time or a season. So the day of the Lord is even stretched out, not just on one specific day, but it even could cover specific days. Right? So Jacob's trouble, that's the day of the Lord. But that's going to be a season for judgment, right? So what we know, the day of Yahweh is closer than when we first believe, and it approach it hastily. If you could give me Joel 1:15.
This is the book of Joel, chapter 1 and verse 15.
And if you could, I'll read this in the GNT.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Joel 1:15. Alas, for the day of Yahweh is at hand,
right?
And as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come. It is not the meat. Zach, you win?
Nah.
Okay.
Right, there's Joel 1:15. The day of Yahweh is near, the day when the Almighty brings destruction. What terror that day will bring. The day of Yahweh is near. It hasted greatly. If you could give me Zephaniah 1:14.
Is that for now?
Oh no, we
one?
read that already. Yeah, well, you could read it in our translation, Baba Kasha. We just read that one verse and see what the GNT saying. Right, there is Zephaniah 1 and 14. The great day of Yahweh is near, very near, and coming fast.
Exactly. Read the scroll up. You see the heading.
Right, the heading here above verse 2, the day of Yahweh's judgment. Right, jump into verse 14. The great day of Yahweh is near, very near, and coming fast. That day will be bitter, for even the bravest soldiers will cry out in despair. So what? The day of Yahweh is very close, people. It's nearer than when we first believe. What else we know about the day of Yahweh? It's a day of darkness. Right, if you could permit Amos chapter 5 and verse 18.
The book of Amos chapter 5 and verse 18. Woe unto you that desire the day of Yahweh. To what end is it for you?
Right.
The day of Yahweh is darkness and not light.
Right, it's a dark day. Go ahead.
As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit
So
him.
you can't escape the danger, right? No matter where you turn, you just see, you know, your last days and your last moments in earth upon you. Go ahead.
Shall not the day of Yahweh be darkness and not light, even very dark, and no brightness in it?
Right, so what the Lord is describing the day that his son is going to return and the day he's going to bring judgment as a day of darkness. If you could give me Ezekiel 30.
Ezekiel 30
And you could read from verse 1.
and verse 1. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, Thus saith Adonai Yahweh,
Right.
how ye woe worth the day.
Right, so the day is full of destruction. Right?
For the day is near, even the day of Yahweh is near,
A
a cloudy day, and it shall be the time of the heathen.
So what we understand in here is that what the day of the Lord is filled with clouds, right? Revelation 1 and verse 7. Behold, he, Yahweh, cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen. Right? So why is the day of the Lord described as a dark day and then simultaneously it's also being described as a cloudy day? Because Yahweh is set to make his return on a chariot, right? A chariot so big that it's going to be able to block out the sun again. I believe it's NASA. We would have seen this last year where they say some 7-mile long spaceship is heading toward Earth. When that enters Earth's atmosphere, they could be talking about the Fathership, we hope, but you don't want to be, but let me say it's real. When that enters Earth's atmosphere, that's going to be so large that it's going to be able to block out the sun, just like what Ezra said.
That's
right?
what I'm going for.
Yeah, 2 Ezra 13, and you could read from verse 6.
And another one that's going for I think is when Angel gave the rendition.
Or the breakdown. Alright, I could go there. 2 Ezra 13 and 6. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. What is this speaking about? The chariot, the fathership that he said to return on, or as the scriptures make mention, the clouds. Behold, he cometh with clouds, every eye shall see him. But I would have seen the regional place where the hill was graven, and I could not. So he couldn't see the end of this thing. Right? If you're looking at something right in front of you, depending on how big it is, you should be able to see the end of it from your right hand and from your left hand, or even from up and down. But Ezra couldn't see the end of this thing. How large or how gigantic is this mountain, right? Code name for the chariot. How large is this that it's able to block out the sun and make the day dark? This is why it's known as a dark day, because these chariots, these fleet of ships that Yahweh is coming with and coming in and coming on is what? Is the chariots are going to be able to block out the sun? Revelation 6 makes mention of he had a white horse, right? He came with pure power, and even Revelation 19 made mention of on that same white horse, all the armies of heaven followed him upon white horses. So he's not just coming here with one gigantic chariot, he's also coming here with a fleet of chariots. That is why it's known as a dark day. These chariots are going to block out the sun, right?
Psalms 68 and 17.
10,000.
Yeah, but in Psalm 68 and 17, the chariots of Yahweh 20,000, even thousands of angels. Yahweh is among them as in Sinai in the holy place.
And the brother say Yahweh here, but we know this Lord here is actually speaking of whom? Yahweh. So what Yahweh is coming back the same way he came in Sinai. Wait, is when the children of Israel were led out of Egypt. Well, it was a cloud of smoke, a pillar of smoke by day, a cloud of smoke by day and a pillar of fire by night, which kept the Egyptians at bay. Waiting that talking about? That talking about the chariots, right? That is speaking about the chariots, more specifically Mount Sinai, a mountain, just like what Ezra said, he graved himself a great mountain. If a mountain was just a pay in the sky, would that not be able to block out the sun, thus making the earth dark? The Lord is coming, and the thing he's coming on is going to make the day that he returns a very dark day. Right? This is why it's described as a cloudy day. This is why it's described as a dark day and a gloomy day. Right? So this has been another installment of things we know about the day of the Lord, the day of Yahweh. Right? Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, and that you were edified. In closing, like to say, Kalalaya
Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Like we double on to the apostles and elders of great men, soon shall we do well. To the men standing by the highways and byways pushing this doctrine, we like to say Shalom.
Shalom.
And even unto the sincere Aqua, the sisters who sit listening these lessons in silence, subjection and obedience unto their husbands, we like to say Shalom. This was a couple of brothers here. Wa Maya Shala from the hills of Yahweh Shaitan. Till next time, we like to say Shalom. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.